this cannot be all that you have. Is there other stuff that you just have not shown?
He has a baby by a woman that was dating Tupac.
Wow.
To add to it, but we had to cut it down.
For nearly 30 years, the world has waited for the truth. We thought we understood the story of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. We believed it was simply a violent rivalry between the East Coast and the West Coast. But we were wrong. 50 Cent has now changed everything with his new Netflix documentary, The Reckoning. This isn't just another retelling of a familiar tragedy. It's an exposure of a hidden history that was concealed in plain sight. From ghostwritten confessions to hidden bounties, from obsession to revenge, the real story is far darker than anyone ever imagined. The ghostwriter's trap. To understand how deep this goes, we have to go back to 2001. Diddy was at the peak of his power. He had money, influence, and hit records. One of his biggest songs at the time was Let's Get It. You remember the beat. You remember the video. Diddy dancing like he owned the city. But there was a secret buried inside that song. One that remained hidden for years. Recently, 50 Cent went on television and dropped a bombshell. He revealed that he ghostwrote Diddy's verses for that track. Ghostwriting isn't unusual in the music industry. That part isn't shocking. What's shocking is what 50 Cent claims he wrote. According to him, he deliberately tricked Diddy into rapping a confession. Imagine sitting in the studio, writing lyrics for your boss, while knowing his darkest secrets. Then imagine slipping those secrets into the song and watching him perform them for the entire world. That's exactly what 50 Cent says he did. In the song, Diddy raps about shootouts and says, "I wasn't around, but I was like East Coast, West Coast." For decades, people thought it was just bragging, talking about his influence in both New York and Los Angeles. But 50 Cent says it wasn't metaphorical at all. According to him, that line was a direct reference to the murders. It was Diddy admitting his reach, his involvement, and his funding of violence on both coasts. And the wildest part? Diddy didn't even realize it. Another line stands out even more. Diddy raps, "Send the cops, the DA, and the feds to come get me." Today, Diddy sits in a federal prison cell. 50 Cent calls it a subconscious confession, a prophecy written into a platinum record. 20 years earlier, Diddy was screaming, "Come get me," to the authorities. And he had no idea he was walking into a trap. 50 Cent laughed about it on the Sherry Shepherd show. To him, it was strategy. He wasn't just making music, he was playing the long game. While Diddy danced in shiny suits, 50 Cent was quietly taking notes. The conquest of Sarah Chapman. But the lyrics were only the beginning. There was another story 50 Cent wanted to include in the documentary. One so personal that Netflix reportedly asked him to cut it. He refused to stay silent. The story centers on Sarah Chapman. Most people know Sarah Chapman only as the mother of Diddy's daughter, Chance Combs, born in 2006. But before Diddy, Sarah had a past, one deeply connected to Tupac Shakur. In 1995, Tupac had just been released from prison and was at the height of his fame. During that time, he was dating Sarah Chapman. There are photos of them together in Las Vegas, smiling and clearly happy. It wasn't a secret back then. But over time, it was forgotten. 50 Cent didn't forget. According to him, Diddy didn't fall in love with Sarah by accident. He claims it was a conquest. 50 Cent says Diddy has a pattern, an obsession with taking things that once belonged to his rivals. Tupac was his greatest enemy. Tupac humiliated him publicly, in songs and interviews. And after Tupac died, 50 Cent claims Diddy went after the woman Tupac loved. He said it plainly. He chooses women who previously dated his rivals. By having a child with Sarah Chapman, 50 Cent believes Diddy was claiming a final victory, taking something Tupac could never have. This wasn't love. It was power. It paints a disturbing psychological picture of a man obsessed with dominance, control, and possession. The night everything changed. To understand how this rivalry turned deadly, we go back to September 7, 1996, Las Vegas. The city was packed for the Mike Tyson versus Bruce Seldon fight at the MGM Grand. Tupac was there with Suge Knight, sitting ringside, feeling untouchable. Tyson won in less than 2 minutes. The energy in the building was electric. But trouble was waiting in the lobby. As Tupac and his crew exited, someone spotted Orlando Anderson, a member of the Southside Compton Crips. Months earlier, Anderson's crew had allegedly robbed a death row associate and stolen a chain. A massive act of disrespect. Tupac didn't hesitate. He walked straight up to Anderson and asked, "You from the South?" Before Anderson could answer, Tupac punched him. Chaos erupted. Suge Knight joined in. The beating happened in front of tourists and security cameras. Tupac left the hotel thinking the issue was handled. He was wrong. Later that night, Tupac changed clothes and got into Suge Knight's BMW. They drove down the Vegas Strip, music blasting, windows down. Police briefly pulled them over, but let them go. At 11:15 p.m., they stopped at a red light at Flamingo Road and Koval Lane. A white Cadillac pulled up beside them. The window rolled down. No words were spoken. A Glock .40 caliber pistol fired 13 shots. 4 bullets hit Tupac. One pierced his lung. The Cadillac disappeared into traffic. Tupac died 6 days later. His last words to police were 2 chilling words. "Fuck you. The $1 million bounty." For years, the shooting was blamed on gang retaliation. But then a man named Dwayne Kef D. Davis started talking. Kef D., the uncle of Orlando Anderson, claimed the murder was not just revenge. He says it was business. According to him, Diddy offered $1 million to have Tupac and Suge Knight killed. In interviews used in The Reckoning, Kef D claims Diddy met with Crips in California and put a bounty on their heads. After the shooting, Kef D says Diddy called him and asked, "Is that us?" Kef D replied, "Yes." If true, that call changes everything. He claims the money was paid through Diddy's associate, Eric "Zip" Martin, but that he never received it. Now Kef D sits in jail, charged with Tupac's murder, and prosecutors are listening closely. Biggie's death and the final lie. 6 months later, violence struck again. March 9, 1997, Los Angeles. Biggie Smalls was shot and killed after leaving a party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Witnesses described a man in a blue suit and bow tie firing the fatal shots from a Chevy Impala. Some believe Suge Knight ordered the hit as revenge. But 50 Cent believes Diddy knows exactly who killed Biggie, and why. Because admitting the truth about Biggie would expose the truth about Tupac. One lie protected another. The Reckoning. Now it's December 2025. Diddy is serving a federal sentence. Racketeering charges loom. Murder evidence is being re-examined. Kef D's trial is set for February 2026. And 50 Cent? He's taking a victory lap. What once sounded like trolling now looks like warning signs no one wanted to hear. This wasn't just a rap feud. It was ego, money, obsession, and murder. And after 30 years, the reckoning has finally arrived. And this is why this story refuses to die. Because Tupac and Biggie weren't just victims of a rap rivalry. They were casualties of power, ego, and silence. For decades, the truth was buried under hit records, expensive suits, and carefully crafted images. The world danced while the bodies piled up. But time has a way of exposing what money tries to hide. The lyrics that once sounded like flexes now sound like confessions. The relationships that looked random now reveal obsession. The violence that was blamed on the streets now points toward boardrooms. This wasn't chaos. It was calculated. And the most terrifying part is this: the system worked. For years, everyone involved walked free while 2 of the greatest voices in hip-hop were silenced forever. Now the masks are slipping. Files are being reopened. Witnesses are talking. Tapes are surfacing. And the same man who once controlled the narrative can no longer control the outcome. History is finally catching up. The question is no longer what happened to Tupac and Biggie. The real question is how many people knew and said nothing? Because when the music fades and the lights turn off, the truth doesn't disappear. It waits. And now, after 30 years, the waiting is over. This isn't just a story. This is a reckoning. And this is where the story stops being history and starts feeling like a crime scene that was never cleaned up. Because Tupac and Biggie didn't just lose their lives. They were erased to protect powerful people. For years, the world was fed a lie. A convenient story about street violence and rap beef. But the streets weren't in control, the money was. Lyrics became alibis. Fame became a shield. Silence became currency. Every warning was ignored. Every clue was mocked. And anyone who spoke too loudly ended up dead. Or disappeared. This wasn't madness. This was orchestration. Two of the greatest artists in history were sacrificed, not because they were reckless, but because they were in the way. And the scariest part? It worked. The public moved on. The records kept selling. The parties got bigger. And the truth was buried under champagne and platinum plaques. Until now. Because time doesn't forget. Witnesses crack. Documents leak. And lies rot from the inside. The people who once felt untouchable are now trapped by their own past. The same shadows they hid in are closing in. So forget the question of who pulled the trigger. The real question is, who paid for it? And who protected them for 30 years? Because this story isn't over. It's just finally being told. The music has stopped. The masks have fallen. And the truth is no longer afraid.